This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream. Get access to my streaming video service, Nebula, when you sign up for CuriosityStream using the link in the video description. So, now that we've talked about why I don't believe Wolverine was the right character to go back to the 1970s in X-Men Days of Future Past, let's talk about the character that I do believe should have gone back in time. I'll give you a hint. He carries a big giant gun, and his name is Lucas Bishop. So, Bishop. If you've never heard of him, Bishop is a mutant. He's traditionally from the future, not the Days of Future Past future or the X-Men Apocalypse future, a separate post-apocalyptic future. He travels back to the 90s and works with the present-day X-Men. He's shown up in the cartoon series. He is usually a humongous man, which it's very silly next to the characters from the original animated series. And he was played by Omar Sy in X-Men Days of Future Past. So we're going to break the conversation about Bishop up into two parts. One, his wasted potential in this movie, and then second, some interesting story opportunities that you get when you swap him out for Wolverine. So first of all, Bishop does not do anything of consequence in X-Men Days of Future Past. Like, legitimately nothing. He is the second character to die behind Storm, and he maybe kills one or two Sentinels by shooting them with his gun. Colossus, Sunspot, and even Blink have more interesting moments than Bishop. And yeah, they can have moments, but it's weird that Bishop is introduced in this movie and then immediately sidelined. Like, Warpath gets the same treatment, but at least his powers aren't that useful. Bishop should be a Sentinel-destroying machine. Speaking of that, I want to play a game. I'm going to show you 2 clips of Bishop using his powers in the X-Men Days of Future Past movie, and I want you to tell me what you think Bishop's mutant power is. Here's the first clip.
Let's go.
Now, here's the second clip. So, if you guessed Bishop absorbs energy and uses it to power his big gun, you're not wrong, at least not based on what the movie tells you. But in the comics, his power is way more interesting. In the comics, and presumably in the movie, although we never really see it, Bishop is able to absorb energy and release it in either concussive blasts or use it to give himself superhuman strength. It's a very fun power. He's the X-Men equivalent of Wobbuffet. But we never get a look at that in the movie. The Sentinels even shoot energy blasts at Bishop, but instead of absorbing that power and using it against them, which, okay, imagine this scene. The Sentinels are winning. They vaporize a few heroes, Storm, Colossus, and then a Sentinel goes to vaporize Bishop, and Bishop is able to resist. Then a second and third Sentinel join in. All 3 shoot Bishop. And then, instead of exploding, Bishop falls to the ground, we see his eyes glow red, and he uses their energy to wipe out a whole wave of Sentinels. With energy blasts, acrobatics, maybe punches some of them. That would have been an awesome moment. A moment worthy of the character of Bishop. Or you could do what Simon Kinberg and He Who Shall Not Be Named chose to do, and just have the 3 Sentinels shoot Bishop until Bishop explodes. Why even have Bishop there? Why not Forge, or Cable, or any other mutant who primarily uses a gun? But maybe you're saying, well, Bishop is a time traveler, so Kitty needs Bishop to time travel in the beginning of the movie. That's why Bishop is in the movie. Which, maybe, but it doesn't seem like something specific to Bishop. Usually, when Bishop absorbs a lot of energy, his eyes glow red, which they are not during the first time hop, so presumably that could have been any mutant. And speaking of the beginning team, Bishop also does not have any meaningful connection to any of the mutants in this movie. They don't seem to know each other, have any rapport. Bishop is just there. If he had a phone, I'm sure he'd be on it in the corner, just waiting for all of these good friends who grew up together to get done saying hi so he can also be part of the conversation. So if Bishop doesn't use any interesting powers specific to his comic counterpart, doesn't do any particularly interesting time travel specific to his character, and does not have any connection to the team or add to the dynamic in any interesting way, just get rid of him. Swap out Wolverine for all the reasons we already said. It makes Wolverine more fun in the future fight. But then, what story opportunities does throwing Bishop into the past timeline present? Well, Bishop needs to form a relationship with Charles and Eric. Bishop doesn't know either of those characters personally, so he doesn't know who they really are or how to get them to help. Also, in the comics, Bishop is traditionally a big fan of the X-Men. He's from a timeline where they are legendary, so it could be fun to see a young Bishop excited to meet Charles Xavier and Hank McCoy in the prime of their lives, only to be disappointed by the fact that his heroes are nothing like he imagined. Xavier is a non-superpowered walking junkie, and Beast is not blue and not furry and enabling Charles. And then on the other side, Bishop could have a very negative view of Magneto going into the past, but as he spends time with Eric and Charles, Bishop can be surprised to find himself agreeing with Eric that mutants need to take some sort of action. Eventually, Eric will fly off the handle and ruin everything, but for a moment, Bishop will be genuinely confused. Is he on the wrong side? Was everything he thought he knew about the X-Men a lie? Was Bishop being naive, a view that past Eric will reinforce, or should he hold out hope, the message of future Professor X that past Professor X has not learned yet? Also, Bishop's energy-absorbing power is a great way to diversify the fighting in the third act. It would be interesting to see Bishop take on a Sentinel from the past because A, Bishop is not bulletproof, and B, his power, if used correctly, could knock one out. Have a bit where Bishop grabs an electrical box, uses it to charge up his body with energy so that he can fire it as an energy blast. And on top of that, Bishop being the time traveler makes sense. I like that it's a power that he and he alone can use. We can justify it in this movie by explaining that Kitty needs to channel an unreasonable amount of energy to send someone that far back in time, and Bishop is the only character able to absorb that energy. And Bishop is one of only a few mutants in the X-Men comic canon who is known for time traveling, Cable being the other high-profile time traveler. So it feels strange to take that one thing that makes comic Bishop unique and just give it to Wolverine. And in case anybody is curious, in the Days of Future Past comic, Kitty is actually the character that is sent back in time. And I would definitely be down for that in this movie if it weren't for the fact that the X-Men movies had already established Kitty as a teenager in 2005, and since Fox wants to maintain that continuity, Kitty would not have been born in the decade where the movie takes place, the 1970s. Bishop, on the other hand, is unaccounted for in both timelines, so we can make him whatever age we want. Have two different actors play Bishop, a past Bishop and a future Bishop. There are a lot of fun options. Michael B. Jordan as young Bishop and Carl Weathers as old Bishop would work. Apollo and Adonis Creed. Or we can go with Chris Claremont's suggestion. Claremont wrote most of the best X-Men stories of all time, including the Dark Phoenix Saga, New Mutants, and my favorite Marvel comic book of all time, God Loves, Man Kills, the story that X-Men 2 is based on. Claremont is also credited as the writer of the Days of Future Past comic, although it was more the creation of his collaborator John Byrne. Claremont probably knows more about the X-Men than anyone, and he suggested Idris Elba, which I love, especially when you consider his Ragnarok hair. He is the spitting image of Bishop. And then, if Elba is the young Bishop, there is a perfect candidate for the old Bishop. See, if you go back into Idris Elba's filmography, you'll notice that he played South African leader Nelson Mandela in a biopic a few years back, so it feels like a no-brainer to cast the other actor who played an older Nelson Mandela in Invictus, Morgan Freeman. Now, who knows if he could get both actors, but a man can dream. And also, one last thing. Listen, I'm a white guy, which is worth mentioning, especially since after my face reveal, I got plenty of comments by people who were surprised by that fact. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but these movies about characters who often stand in for a marginalized group of people, whether it's persecution because of race or religion or sexual orientation, it's difficult to ignore the fact that the movies about the premier comic vehicle for stories about diversity are super white, like Dave Matthews Band concert white. And if you don't believe me, thankfully the X-Men movies have the least creative posters in history. Like, look at these. These are all of the posters look almost exactly the same. It's all of the actors standing at different distances on slight tilt. It's fine. I mean, it's the X-Men poster style, but it's not super creative, although every so often they go off the beaten track and they make a poster like the posters for X-Men First Class. Like, these are real posters that were released by 20th Century Fox. And if you go back and look at any fan art of like any speculative poster with any style whatsoever, it's a million times better than these. And I don't think there should be some quota for how many mutants played by actors of color appear in multiple movies, but I have a feeling if that quota existed, it wouldn't be one. Like, I was tweeting about this a lot, and it blew my mind that there is only one mutant played by an actor of color who goes from one movie to the next movie in that series, and it's Storm. Both Storms. All of the rest of those characters either never show up again or are killed in the movie. And it's weird. Like in First Class, Darwin is one of the good guys. He's the only good guy that dies in that movie. And his power, Darwin's sole mutant power, is that he cannot die. He always, under any circumstance, will adapt to survive. He's getting hit really hard, his body will become super strong or intangible. He's getting hit really, really hard, like by the Hulk, he'll just teleport away. Darwin was fighting with Hela, the god of death, and instead of dying, he became a god of death himself. That's what you're looking at with Darwin. But in X-Men First Class, he just dies. Like, it's weird, like bizarre. So introducing younger Bishop into the past timeline and giving him an opportunity to become a member of the team in the future wouldn't like completely fix that disparity, but it would also function as a step in the right direction. All I'm saying is, by swapping Wolverine and Bishop's places in X-Men Days of Future Past, you get a more interesting future fight and a more engaging past storyline. Also, prominently featuring a character named Bishop and giving him the task of uniting the main characters in a series where the relationship between those main characters is usually symbolized by a game of chess is kinda interesting, just saying. Oh, and one more thing. If you, like Professor X and Magneto, enjoy a good game of strategy, I would recommend checking out Money. It's a game hosted by Tom Scott. He brings together some YouTubers, and they play games where they're trying to win money, but also they can backstab each other and bluff, and it's a lot of fun. Honestly, I started watching the show way too late at night, and I binged all of the episodes of it because I was honestly having that much fun with it. And you can watch Money right now on our creator-owned streaming service, Nebula. Nebula is a place where we can experiment, make our own original videos, like our working title series. Polyphonic did a series on the dark side of the moon. There's originals from channels you probably already like Tierzu and Kento Bento, Real Engineering, Wendover, and a bunch of others. And the terrific thing about Nebula right now is if you subscribe to CuriosityStream, which is an awesome subscription streaming service where you can watch thousands of documentaries and nonfiction titles, if you sign up for CuriosityStream, you also get Nebula for free, as long as you're subscribed to CuriosityStream. And on top of that, the first 31 days are completely free if you sign up at curiositystream.com/Nando, Nando, and use the code word Nando during the sign-up process. It's an incredible deal. Watch documentaries on CuriosityStream, watch Money and working titles on Nebula. I think you guys are really going to dig it. Thank you to everyone who continues to support the channel on Patreon. You guys are the best. If you want to see your names up here, get access to videos early, other cool stuff, throw in literally any amount of money at patreon.com/NandoViewMovies. You get to watch my monthly whiteboard videos. I just got finished making one about how I would construct the DCEU, which is a lot of fun. We came up with some awesome ideas I was really happy with. And if you throw in $5 or more a month, you get to suggest and vote on the topics for those monthly whiteboard videos. Either way, I appreciate everybody that supports me on Patreon. You guys have no idea how helpful it is. Also, as always, listen to my podcast, Mostly Nitpicking, where every week me and my friends DJ and Diggins pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. We're doing Speed Racer, we're doing the Fast and Furious series because, well, not too many movies are coming out these days. Although, listen, Disney, Fox, whoever's in charge, put New Mutants on Hulu or Disney Plus. I would love to nitpick it and just love to see it, to see if it exists. So we'll do that if it comes out. You can listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are at Nitpicking Pod on Twitter. Last thing, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is just NandoVMovies. It's where I post updates on videos and podcasts, and pictures of my cat. All good and important stuff. That's all I got. I'll see you next time.